How do you go about taking that leap to do something that is totally different from what you are doing now? On September 28th, Lifeshifters met up with Toni Sharman, who did just that, took the leap. In this video, Toni discusses how she went from massage therapist to pie maker. Her key advice? It does not have to be perfect. Remember that Lifeshift is here to inspire you to pursue purpose and adventure anytime in your life. Subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our tips and inspiration.
We just have so many careers in our lifetimes now. I think that's kind of the biggest thing that I've really kind of figured out even on this journey of mine. And I know Cinders is in the group and she has seen a lot of the changes that I've gone through. So let's say I started as a Pilates instructor once upon a time, and then I became a registered massage therapist where I met Cinders at the Globe and Mail, and then I was an osteopath. And I created my own business and I had my own clinic at that time, and just kind of always knew that I wanted to have a product type of a business as well. My husband was always telling me to just calm down and just try to enjoy what I was doing at the time, but it just didn't ever seem like it was kind of enough for me. So fast forward, my mom comes to stay with me, and my mom has always made pies and sold pies at farmers markets in Alberta. And she was staying with us and quickly started selling pies to my friends. And I looked at James, we looked at each other and we're like, that's the product. That is definitely the product. These savory pies, we just don't have enough of them. We know my mom's recipes are the best recipes. We've got to do this. And so at the time, he actually was laid off from his job. He's a sportscaster. And my mom quickly put him through cooking school to make all these pies. And we started selling them at farmers markets and cooking out of the back of a butcher shop. And then we decided to buy a building to put a kitchen in the building, as well as my health clinic that I was still continuing to try to run. And then while we were in the midst of building that kitchen, that's when COVID happened. And we were just like, what have we done? This is crazy. This is it. We've really done it this time. And but all of our contractors were incredible, and they got in there and they finished it. And then unbeknownst to us, it was really the perfect product to be launching at the beginning of COVID. They were frozen pies. We were delivering them to homes. We kind of had this subscription model going, and the neighborhood was just so incredibly supportive of us. And we just kind of haven't looked back. It quickly became apparent that I couldn't run two businesses at once. So I had to let go of the health clinic. And it actually just felt right at the time. So I just kind of kept going with it, with the pie business. And then James ended up going back to work as well. So it just kind of has all fallen mostly on my shoulders to run this thing and grow this thing. But we've taken other chances. We opened a little place in Kensington, a second little shop, and it just wasn't successful. So we closed that shop, just trying different things. And this past year, after last Christmas, we realized our little place on the Danforth was just definitely not going to get us through another pie season, which is September to March. We almost burst the seams last year. So we moved to Pickering, and we slowly just kind of started to look around and see what was kind of available to us in terms of larger commercial kitchens. And we found this kitchen. It was actually being used as a catering company, and it's massive and it's so close to home. And we kind of circled around it for almost a year, I would say, before we actually kind of decided to jump and go, and we knew it was time to go, and I had to get this place. There was a time where I thought I'd lost it, and I was just sick to my stomach, and as I knew that I had to have that space. And then we got the space, and then in August I had to change that space into mine and clean it, and that was probably the hardest month I've ever had in business. I was just pushed against the wall physically, mentally, financially, just thinking, this is it. This is really the time. I have definitely taken on too much. And now here we are, getting to we are at the end of September, and it just feels so right. And it was definitely the right decision to make. And we're just onwards and upwards from here.
Yeah, Jean?
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. It sounds amazing. Do you not so much about your process, but do you offer like gluten-free products as well? Or are you pretty much mainstream, or how did you know who your clients would be?
Yeah, I mean, initially it was just my mom's really fabulous pies to get them out there. And I was thinking, especially with the subscription and the way it's a frozen pie that you put in the oven and cook for yourself, I was like a young family at the time and thinking how wonderful that would be and how easy that would be. And then there was single people who wanted single pies, and families, who wanted to give for their elderly parents to have in the freezer. But yes, gluten-free, because the vegans and the vegetarians and the gluten-free, they all come at you and they're all like, I want one. You have to kind of make something for everybody. So it is something. We say we're gluten-free. We have flour in the facility, so it's not for celiac, but definitely we have gluten-free pies as well as vegetarian. We haven't hit the vegan pie yet, but that will be in the works for sure.
Now, are you limited by a geographical area? Or let's say if I live in Midtown Toronto, could I order from you? Or how did?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now we're kind of delivering. We scaled back a little bit over the summer just because of the heat and having to ship further. The pies were not staying frozen, so we scaled back a little bit. Right now we're really targeting Durham because we're in Durham, so we're going as far as like Port Perry and Kingston, and then we service all the way over to the west, and then we're all the way up. I think we're past Newmarket at this point for sure. And then we also have wholesalers. Our wholesalers are starting to kind of come out of the woodwork, we have True Local, who they deliver like all Canadian, almost maybe more Ontario meat products to people. And that's also on a subscription. So they're a very large wholesaler of ours. And then we have other sort of smaller butcher shops, like more boutique-y type grocery stores.
There's a few questions coming in on the chat. Lynn asks, how did you know there would be a demand for pies, and how did you get clientele?
And how did I get clientele? With the demand was definitely the fact that my friends had started purchasing and ordering pies from my mom. And then we said we would go to the farmer's market to test the market. And it was a tiny little market and not a busy market whatsoever. And we quickly started building up a lot of people there purchasing our pies. And then the butcher shop that we were cooking in started carrying the pies. So it was just kind of like a slow growth. Then, like I said, we felt that there was not a lot of savory pies in Toronto when we looked. There are a few companies that we could find, but we still did things slightly different because our pies were frozen. The pastry is raw, so that when people cook this pie for themselves, it's like a homemade pie straight out of the oven. The pastry's puffed up, it's not being reheated. So it's really, really fresh and quite nice.
There is a question from Kim about
gluten-free pies, and do they contain xanthan gum? I don't know, or gum guar.
Yeah. Our pies do not have those ingredients in them. Currently, our gluten-free pies are pies that are actually not pastry pies. They're more like the shepherd's pie, and then we have a Moroccan vegetable pie with so that's topped with potatoes. But we are working towards trying to find like that really kind of perfect gluten-free flour. I myself at times have been gluten-free, and I definitely want to avoid those ingredients as well as any kind of other additives and ingredients that can really irritate stomachs. Being an osteopath, I always have kind of that side of things in my head as well, making sure that it's just like a home good quality ingredients in the product.
I think there's another one from your experience. What would you recommend for someone who's considering a career shift, but they don't know exactly what they want? Do you have the?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was something I knew I wanted to sell a product. I didn't know what that product would be. So I always just kept saying to myself, just keep your eyes open. It will present itself. It will show up. I just really believed that. And then when it did, and it was there, it was just all of a sudden like this light bulb moment of, wow, I'm not a baker. My mom's the baker, I'm more the entrepreneur, and I love business and I love the challenge. So when the product just presented itself, I just kind of was just going full steam ahead with that. And I think a big thing that you have to really think about, and this was something that I've really, really learned along the way, is it doesn't have to be perfect. Right off the bat, I wanted the perfect pie. I wanted nothing to change. It just had to look good and be good, and that was it. And it wasn't. We've had lots of bumps and ups and downs, and you have the people who love your pies and then the people that hate your pies, and it's just beautifully imperfect, and you have to just enjoy that ride, and learn from all of it as well. But it doesn't have to be perfect. Before you launch something, don't feel like you have to have this and this to make it perfect. Just get going, one little step at a time, and you will be there before you know it. I look at this building now that I'm in, and I'm just like, I saw this 2 years ago, and here I am, and it's a shock.
Just curious in terms of, sort of the financial background, I guess, of, you started into this business, and, obviously you've been dealing with banks if you've bought a big new building and, all those kinds of things. What was your sort of financial growth or acumen, or, you know what I mean? Like in terms of sort of figuring that part of it all out.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, when we first started, I had the health business. So when we were starting that new kitchen, we kind of knew that we would sell enough to be able to kind of support the kitchen. We wouldn't make a lot of money, but we could support it. And we knew that my health clinic could support that building while that business kind of got going. And then when James lost his job, he had severance for a year. So he was able to hop in there. So we didn't have to have staff right away that we had to pay. And it was kind of just, do these little, because we really hate debt. And this is the first time with this new building that we've had to take on some debt to obviously grow. I've had financial coaches and business coaches trying to just get into my head that debt is part of it. And so I'm trying to get a bit more comfortable with that. But usually with the growth, and even with the health clinic, if I can throw 20 grand in, I would kind of be like, that's my my investment, and then I have to make money before I make the next investment. And you just kind of incrementally kind of grow that way. And our sales and our in our business year after year have grown so well and exponentially that banks are just kind of knocking down the door, almost going, here's the money. It's more of us going, we don't want all that money. It's crazy.
So were you already living in Pickering, and so you stayed where you were in terms of your community? Or did you end up moving there from somewhere else to get that, to be near that building?
Yeah, no, we were living in East York, and that's where our initial building was. I could walk there. It was so close. And then again, you know, in terms of those kind of inspired moments, I was like, wonder what we could sell our house for. I want more space. And then we moved to Pickering, and then we got this building, and it's really 2 blocks away from us again. So no, the space kind of came after we moved here.
If any of you are thinking of taking a leap, and also if you have already taken a leap. I think, you know, we sometimes forget that in our past lives, we have really taken made some bets and taken some leaps. If you would like to see more Lifeshiift videos, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel using the subscribe button below. Don't forget to sign up for regular emails on our website at www.lifeshiift.com.